Hi, I'm Eileen McGivney, and this is my poster, Immersive Media in Remote Schooling. I was surprised at how engaged I was for the iLRN Doctoral colloquium. First, right off the bat, I want to thank the teacher and the students I worked with, and I also want to thank Tanya Manchanda, who provided research assistance on this project. So it's not well known in what ways immersive media may impact engagement or learning in a fully remote schooling model. So students in this school that I did research in reported feeling that it's harder to learn online. They had difficulty focusing. There was a lack of time to engage with their teachers and the materials. And these are all things that have been echoed in other contexts as well. And low levels of engagement in remote schooling put students at risk of dropping out and of learning loss. Immersive media may increase student focus and motivation to learn, via the sense of being there in a different place. But that's mostly been shown in other contexts and not necessarily in a remote school model for high schoolers. And also engagement is a broad construct. It has behavioral, emotional, and cognitive elements. And so I wanted to know, how do students experience 360 videos in remote high school classes? To what extent and in what ways do they find them engaging? To what extent and in what ways do they relate to challenges that they face in remote learning? So I used 360 videos with Google Cardboards in high school engineering classes. These are a couple of examples of the videos we used. And some of them were used in one-on-one interviews over Zoom, but most of them were done as whole class activities over Zoom in remote schooling. And the engineering classes were at a public charter high school, and 16 of the 30 students opted into participating in the research. And I used semi-structured interviews and in-class focus groups that were recorded and transcribed. And what I'm reporting here are emergent thematic themes that emerged from the student interviews and focus groups. So first, students described the 360 videos as more engaging than other remote learning materials. And this is without being specifically asked about engagement. Many of them use the term engaging, talking about the videos. But more interesting than that is how they describe them as engaging. So some talked about how it increased their focus and attention. They said things like you have to give your complete attention to it. Others talked about it in terms of their sense of control it gave them, that it feels interactive, you can control it. And others talked about it in terms of relating it to their interests and the enjoyment that they had with it. So seeing the beauty of the ocean, for example. And then when students talked about how it related to their learning, they discussed how the videos help them learn in terms that indicate their potential for observational learning. And this is, again, just something that emerged from what the students were talking about. So they talked a lot about having the opportunity to observe. They said, I want to observe about the things I'm learning about. They use the term detail often. So, it gives you more vivid detail. You can see more details. They also talked about being able to observe the context and surroundings of the videos. So you get to see how many people are working with an aerospace engineer. And then they also talked about it in terms of addressing a lack of experiences due to COVID-19. So for example, that they can't travel now, and this is the next best thing. So these students' experiences shine light on some of the mechanisms through which immersive media may address challenges of remote schooling. So in terms of engagement, some of what they talked about align with behavioral elements of engagement, like attention and focus, and some align with emotional elements of engagement, like a sense of control and their interests. And in terms of learning, they point to an opportunity for observational learning, which is particularly scarce in remote contexts where time is limited and students are isolated. But I also find that research will require significant time and resources to better understand learning in remote schooling contexts. So gaining consent, distributing materials, setting up lessons, the troubleshooting, and all at a time when synchronous learning opportunities were very limited and class time was cut short. made for a very challenging research environment. And so I think to really understand learning in this context will take a lot more resources. And also further research should more rigorously test the mechanisms through which VR influences student engagement and learning outcomes. So these are emergent findings that suggest some of the ways in which immersive media may support fully remote learning, but further research should, look more at testing this. And also this sample of students was not representative, both due to the classes that we were working in, but also the difficulties of gaining consent and the data collection challenges of doing research in the environment. So much more work needs to be done, but thank you for attending this presentation.